What is up? And welcome back to Cryptographics, and welcome back to another daily dose of the PulseChain ecosystem news, updates, prices, the whole 9 yards. And what we're going to do today is something a little different as well. I'm going to extend this to a little bit of a longer stream. So if you are tuning in now or you're catching the replay, just know the first part's going to be news, and the second part, I'm going to go into more of a Q&A style. We're going to talk about whatever comes up, allow for a deeper discussion. This might be a longer stream, so hang in there and see where we go. Join me for the ride. What's up, RH? Good to see you, bro. Thanks for the comment. Appreciate you. And like you see in the title, got some interesting headlines that came out today that I'm going to hop right into and bring up because I see a bunch of people rolling in. So I'm going to start talking about the news right away, and I'll welcome you guys in as I go here. So let me just start with the title of the video here, the stream, and let's get into it. So it came up today, and I saw someone share this, and this is the title from Protos. There's also, so if I go to Google and I just type in, where is it here? PulseChain flop. Check this out. Richard Hart's Pulse launch flops. And if we go down here, there's another one. There was one by crypto, what was it? Cryptosomething.com as well. It was here. Anyways, this still is the right one. Bear with me for a moment, guys. So, Richard Hart's Pulse launch flops. Users stranded. Hex crashes. Fans of Richard Hart awaited the launch of his magnum opus, Pulse, with bated breath. They forgave Hex for languishing 80% below all-time highs, or worse, while they waited. They forgave months of delays, SEC subpoenas, and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of inaccessible funds. Finally, after 4 testnets and inexplicable postponement, Hart's blockchain and its DEX activated mainnet on May 13th. A bridge to other blockchains went live 2 days later. The chart of Hart's first project, Hex, illustrates the sell the news dump of Pulse. In Wall Street parlance, sophisticated traders buy amid rumors and sell into retail buying on the day of the news. Hence the adage, sell the news. From May 1st through May 22nd, neither PulseChain or PulseX had any major exchange listing. Hex was the only asset of Richard's 3 tokens with liquid, independent price discovery. Hex is therefore the best measure of the value of Hart's empire. To that end, consider the price of Hex. On May 11th, Hex rallied to a 52-week high of 8 cents per token amid rumors of an imminent Pulse mainnet activation. Its market cap was $13 billion. By the time it launched on May 13th, Hex had lost 1/3 of its value to approximately 5 cents per token, just shy of $10 billion market cap. Then, and I'm just going to read this last little part here before I pause. Then, on launch day itself, everyone realized the party was over. Smart money had already sold the news. Hex halved within 24 hours to $5 billion. In subsequent days, Hex has continued to sell off and now trades below 2 cents per token around its 52-week low market cap of $2.2 billion. And to top this all off, to absolutely top this all off, the person who wrote this, and there's so much more to this, they didn't even put their name on this article. They don't even have the audacity, and they don't have the confidence of their own opinion to put their own name on this. Like, guys, to me, when I see something like this, like, the only reason we're seeing this is because reputation. If it was anybody else, think about it, it's anybody else, people are willing to go for it. Like, dude, it's just because it's Richard Hart. It's just because he's controversial. It's just because he's doing something different. It's just because his ecosystem is solving problems that other ecosystems, I'll say most others that I'm aware of, because I don't know every ecosystem and I don't know every product that's out there. Most other ecosystems aren't doing what this ecosystem is doing. And this is like, I don't want to say this is a bottom signal, but this is like, I mean, we've seen people say that they're done in crypto in the ecosystem. People that are like fairly well known. We're now seeing articles come out that it's a complete flop. It's like, man, I don't know how much closer we could be to a bottom than where we are now. We might get we might get a little bit deeper into the whole dip situation here. Who knows? But like, this is flat out hilarious that this person is taking a 2-week-old blockchain and forgetting about every other blockchain that's ever existed, like forgetting what happened to Ethereum in the first few months, right? Forgetting what happened to every single blockchain and just thinking, oh, 2 weeks in, it's a failure. It's like, well, if we look throughout history and we check in to see how long it took for a blockchain to begin and then rise in price, I wonder if it's longer than 2 weeks. No, I don't think there's a lot of evidence for that out there. I think this article is completely warranted. 100% warranted. Yep. Absolutely. Guys, man, this is like, I'm actually, it's good to see this, because I know you're thinking when I say that, you're like, what do you mean it's good to see this? But like, the more hated something is like, look at the things that have been successful in the future. The people who have the most, not success, but make the most noise, and like, you look at public figures, they're polarizing, right? Polarity is a sign that there's something here, right? This is polarity. This is polarizing. This ecosystem is polarizing. Hex is polarizing. PulseChain is polarizing. PulseX is polarizing. This whole ecosystem is polarizing. And when I see this, to me, this is a good thing. It's ridiculous, and it is, man, it's just the biggest stretch you could possibly imagine to try and get, like, basically make a mountain out of a molehill. But as Christopher Cobb says, patience. If you expected to get rich ASAP, then buy a lotto ticket. This will take time. Hex took 2 years to 10,000x. PLS won't get you rich week 1. Exactly. That's it. So that is the, I don't know. What do you guys want? You guys want me to keep reading? I'm going to pause for a second here. And if you're watching this and if you're in the chat with me, let me know. I'd love to keep reading if you guys want to keep hearing where the rest of this article goes. It's just crazy how it's almost like it's like propaganda, it's 100% what it is. So yes, there has been the bug with PulseX. It was an incorrect functionality that was in the code. It was not a vulnerability in terms of where people's funds were at risk, but it still affects. And of course, this is going to come into the narrative. This is going to come in to what people write about in articles, what people talk about on social media. And this is going to show up, but it adds to the story. It really adds to the story. I got one keep reading here. And so far, that's all I've got. So I'm going to keep reading. Let's go, guys. Okay, so let's start here. So barrage of gas fees and slippage slams Hex fans. Man, it's almost like the way they've written it is just, oh man, it's almost story-like. They're trying so hard to paint this story. You can't help but read it the way I'm reading it, where it's almost like a narrative. It's what it is, a narrative. So let's go. Okay, I see a few people keep reading. Okay, let's go. So this is now what the narrative is from there. This is the second half. So we wrote the first bit here. Barrage of gas fees and slippage slams Hex fans. The point of PulseChain, a fork of Ethereum, is its on-chain exchange, PulseX, a fork of Uniswap. The point of PulseChain and its on-chain exchange, PulseX, was to reduce fees. However, most fees haven't reduced at all. Gas fees for a full sequence of transactions using Pulse are prohibitively expensive, with documentation and how-to guides in disarray. Would-be Pulse users need to pay gas fees for bridging assets onto PulseChain. That's Ethereum. You need an ETH for that. Activating multiple DEX trading pairs on PulseChain. Yeah. Swapping non-PulseChain tokens into PulseChain tokens. Plus MEV and slippage. That's the same as Ethereum. That's the same everywhere, dude. Providing and removing liquidity, plus impermanent loss. Everything's just worst case scenario here. Trading on PulseChain. So you just said the same thing twice. Swapping PulseChain tokens into bridgeable. You said the same thing 3 times in 3 different words. Man, they love this MEV and slippage as if it's the only place on earth that it occurs on the PulseChain side. Finally, another suite of gas fees for transferring their bridgeable assets back to the original blockchain. Hart waves away focus from these inundating fees with the disingenuous promises about PulseChain being 150x cheaper than Ethereum. In reality, most PulseX users are stranded at best or underwater at worst. Jeez, man. These people just like, I don't know if they even did anything on the PulseChain side, if they even looked at any numbers, or if they just like grabbed the nearest grapevine and just stuck their ear to it. It's crazy. So let's go to, I'm gonna bring us to plsburn.com. We're gonna go because of that, and we're gonna go and look at the PLS Burn website and show you what the actual gas fees are right now. So, okay. Right now, so make sure you guys are seeing this. I'm going to zoom in here. A PulseX swap is 1,311 pulse. In pulse terms, it is expensive. But as soon as you look at the dollar value associated with the pulse, it's 16 cents to do a PulseX swap. Let's go to Uniswap and let's find out how much it is to do a simple swap here. I'm gonna have to change my screen here. 1 second, guys. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. Let's go USDC. And then let's select ETH. This is just a donation wallet, guys. So let's do this. Okay. Swap. Confirm swap. Let's just do this. It's $6 for setting the spending cap. $6 for setting a spending cap. Now, let's go over to the app.pulsex. Okay, remember that number, $6.16 to approve a token spend. Now, let's swap Pulse for PulseX. It is 31 cents for an entire transaction. It's 20 times higher for just the approval process. Now, let's invert this so that I can show you the difference when it comes to actually getting in here. Let's reject this. We're going to max. Next. It's 200 times cheaper to transact on Pulse at the moment. 3 cents versus $6.16. Actually, let's do the actual math here. So 6.1, or let's see here. 6.16 divided by 0.03 is equal to 205 times more expensive to currently transact on Ethereum for a token approval. Okay, so let's go back here and reread these. Swapping non-pulse chain tokens is like, okay, gas fees are a full sequence of transactions. Right here's. However, the most fees haven't reduced at all. Hart waves away focus from these inundating fees with disingenuous promises about PulseChain being 150x. He's actually lowballing. He's legitimately lowballing here. Like, guys. Oh my God. Are you guys seeing this? Just craziness. Just absolutely Crazy. Oh, let's do. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. Let's see here. Just before we keep going here, let's just stop and let's talk about some of the comments. I know, Bitfinesse. Impossible to take these screw ups seriously. They've been in BTC for years and years and still rely on YouTube for income, revealing the traders who use their viewer base as liquidity pool. That's just exactly it. Flop, bro. It's literally only. I know. That's what I'm saying. It's insane. It's crazy. Yeah, like this is insane. I don't see a flop. Love everything about the ecosystem. When the bug is fixed, it'll be amazing. No biggie. Exactly. Flop. The baby just got like 2-week-old baby. Imagine saying, your baby is not growing fast enough. Throw it out. What? He's not one yet. He's not 2 feet tall yet. What? It cost me approximately 60 USD to send money to an Australian exchange and convert it to USD, then send ETH to the wallet, then bridge to PulseChain. Maybe a few dollars more. Yeah, it's $60 round trip at the moment. But as soon as we get Pulse on an exchange, all this changes. And I totally understand. Yes, right now to get things on, it's expensive. But once you're on PulseChain, it legitimately is over 200 times cheaper at the moment. Let's see here. Let's see. We need a PulseX wallet. I think Richard has something brewing, but we need these FUD losers out sooner the better, and sell and get out. You know what? Hey man, I really feel okay. I'm gonna try not to put too. I know I'm just literally stating nothing but like opinions here, but I think these opinions are based on reality and they're not necessarily opinions. I'm sprinkling my feelings in there as well, but also it's kind of hilarious to me this article even exists. Okay. Let's just keep going, guys, because this is going to get better and better and better. Pulse sacrificers locked and locked and losing. For instance, consider sacrificers just for PulseX who finally received their mainnet PLSX on May 13th prior to May 23rd. There was no exchange for these users to acquire Pulse for gas fees to move their PLSX tokens. In actual effect, therefore, all of their funds remain immovable. Sniffing an opportunity for easy money, an opaque network of over-the-counter dealers set up price gouging offers, charging users prices like 10 cents for Pulse, despite its actual value being 99% cheaper. Some scammed users out of funds by promising to send PLS in exchange for assets they simply stole. Faucets tried giving away PLS and immediately depleted amid the chaos. The public slowly learned the stark reality. The value of Hex and PLSX crashed relentlessly. Geez, man, I don't even know where to begin with that. So the one thing I'll say here is, yeah, for anyone who didn't get in the beginning and didn't switch around some PulseX or anything they held on their exchange or in their wallet on the PulseChain side for a little bit of Pulse, yeah, there wasn't really the option for you to get Pulse after that. You had to go to a faucet, or you had to get someone to send it to you. Like, you needed people to do that, 100%. But that's the reality of the situation right now for everybody. It's not just PulseX. It's everybody wanting to get in. You need Pulse. And because there isn't anyone pushing the Pulse and PulseX listings on exchange other than community members, then it's up to exchanges to list it. And until then, it's just not the case. But there are plenty of people in this community who are giving away Pulse to people who need it. I've been helping everyone that I've been working with and giving them some Pulse. So again, let's keep going here, though. The public slowly learned of the stark reality. Yeah, we did that. The value of Hex and PLSX crashed relentlessly. I feel like going to the deck screener for a second, guys. I feel like going to deck screener. Let's see. Actually, I'll just leave that for now. I feel like I need my entertainer narrator voice for this just to make it as ridiculous as possible. Yeah, I'm going to do that here. I'm going to make this as ridiculous as I possibly can. No, where am I here? Today, PLS has retained some value, but mostly because gas-starved PulseX users have millions of dollars worth of locked funds that require Pulse in order to sell. The bid of stranded PLSX users is one of the few sources of PLS demand, and the bid mostly exists so that they can sell. The bid of stranded PLSX users is one of the few sources of PLS demand. Jesus, man. Shouldn't say. It was a G's. Fake Pulse and price gouging OTC dealers. Of course, PulseX users encounter an infuriating sequence of gas fees for each other for each step of their attempts to sell. Consider the above. Typical PLSX token holder. Prior to May 23rd, they might have attempted to buy PLS over the counter at a rate like 10 cents. Even if they bought $200 worth of PLS, they would have received less than $1 worth of PLS after its fair reevaluation from 10 cents to 0.0002. Not enough gas even for a single swap. If the user managed to find a cheaper venue for buying even more PLS, they might have been able to buy a PLS lookalike, but likely the wrong type. There are dozens of fake versions of PLS. Comically, even the official PulseChain bridge doesn't output native PLS. Scores of PLSX users have wasted money trying to buy the wrong type of PLS or real PLS at price gouging rates. Oh boy. Once a dwindling minority of lucky users manage to find enough PLS to conduct all the on-chain steps required to actually sell their PLSX, see the above barrage of bullet points, they find limited liquidity, massive slippage, and little support. Okay, wait. Once a dwindling minority of lucky users managed to find enough PLS to conduct all the on-chain steps required to actually sell their PLSX, they find limited liquidity, massive slippage, and little support. I feel like going to the PulseX exchange right now. I feel like going there. Let's do it. Let's take a look to see if that's true. Okay. Let's say I want to sell 100 million PulseX for USDC. Huh. Well, hold on. What about $1 billion? Massive slippage. Massive slippage, hey? Okay. So guys, I don't even know if I can do the rest of this article. This is getting ridiculous. It's been 22 minutes of reading this article. It's just like insane. I think I'm done with reading this article. We get the point. These guys have no idea what they're talking about. They're just saying everything possible that anyone that doesn't actually want to go do their own homework can go read and be like, nah, I knew it. I told you it was going to be a flop. So rip. Absolute rip. And in other news as well, I'm going to leave that there because I don't want to just keep going off on that. I'm kind of getting sick of it already. Let's go and talk about the latest update from Richard. So this is what he's come out and say. After the bug, he's come out and said, please test all the features of app.v4.testnet.pulsex.com/swap. Remember, this is all open source. You are the network. You are the testing. You matter. Try out, become LP, move LP from V1 to V2, checking your rewards, using buy and burn. So guys, this is a call to action here. So I haven't had a chance to do this today, but if you get a chance, let's all try and go to the testnet version 4. Just make sure everything works. Put in some time, maybe like 5-10 minutes, and just do some swapping, some LP providing, and just some messing around if you got some tokens on the V4 network. And let's just double check that everything is actually running, because it sounds like things are running very smoothly, and we should soon have the updated PulseX code, so that way the LP fees will be working properly. So that's great work. Yeah, probably. Let's see here. Let's see. Hello. Once the fees farming is updated, what will be the best to be in liquidity or farm? I didn't realize that there are 2 different reward returns. That's fair. So LP liquidity providing is layer 1, farms are layer 2. So if you're liquidity provider, you get PLP tokens. It's like your representation of what you have in the pool. And if you take those tokens and then you go to the farms, which I will go over here and show you real quick. If you go liquidity provide liquidity, you do the whole 9 yards, you'll get spit out PLP tokens. Those will automatically go to your wallet. Now you go to farms, and if you're doing PLSX and wrap PLS, then you enable the contract and you stake your PLP tokens in here. Okay. Let's see here. All right. So that is as simple as it is. Now, what I do want to stress here, now this is something that I want everyone to do on a regular basis now, and to try and mitigate if you're participating in liquidity pools, you're providing liquidity. What I would like you to do from now on is when you come in here, let's say this is the amount that you're going to go ahead and you're going to provide with. Okay. Doesn't matter. What I want you to do, get a pen out, get some paper, and write down these ratios. Okay. So you're going to write down 2.51895, and you're going to write down this. Okay. These, when you come back, if you ever want to remove liquidity, what you want to do is you want to make sure that this, because what this is a ratio. This is the ratio of the value in PulseX for one pulse. So it takes 2.51884 PulseX to equal one pulse, right? And it takes 0.39, basically 39 pulse to equal one pulse X. So if you write that down on a piece of paper, store that somewhere, that's like your target, okay? If the price, or the ratio, I should say, deviates higher or lower, so let's say it goes to 3, or let's say it goes to 2 to 1, you're likely going to get hit with a bit of impermanent loss, which means that the value of, let's say I provided these exact tokens, okay? So what I would do is I would take the value that PLS and PLSX is currently, right? I would write down the amount that I put in, so 300 million Pulse X, 755 million Pulse X, and I would then go and I'd write down what my new amount of PLS and PLSX that I would get back after the ratio moves is. And what you can do is you can figure out what the original tokens would have been worth if you just held them versus what the tokens you currently have in the liquidity pool are now worth based on the current prices. Okay. And if your tokens that you originally put in are worth more than what the tokens currently are worth in the liquidity pool, you've suffered some impermanent loss where if you pull out your tokens, you will see a loss, which then you have to make sure, if you're earning incentive, and this is why the farms are important, if you are providing liquidity, you want to make sure you're in the farms. So that way, if there's some impermanent loss, you're mitigating that. And if you do need to pull out, let's say it goes to a 3 to 1, and there's, let's say, 3% impermanent loss, maybe you've gained 6. And so now you're up 3% overall versus what your losses would be, or if you weren't earning incentive in the first place. Okay. I hope that is making sense, but this is super, super important. And I really want everybody to understand that writing down this ratio is super important. This, like, when this ratio moves is when you can see impermanent loss happen. Okay. And the thing is, if you wait, so let's say, I wish I had something to draw with on here. Maybe I'll just go to Canva. Maybe I won't yet. But when you provide liquidity, if the ratio moves away or in either direction, higher or lower, that's when impermanent loss can happen. So knowing this ratio, and even if it deviates, waiting for it to come back, that when it comes back to that ratio, then you will not see impermanent loss. Okay. So this is why you want to make sure you know what you're doing and that you understand what this is. Okay. Okay. Let me just pause here. Yeah, it took Hex 2 years to make a bullish super move. Give it 2 years on PulseChain and watch some magic happen. That's the thing. That's the thing. We know the bull market is not going to be here for some time still. It's whether it's weeks or months before like the first little uptick starts to happen. We're here till late 2024, 2025 at the earliest, right? When all this is going to crescendo, at least in my opinion. I mean, I could be completely wrong on that, but we're here for the long haul. So we might as well stop worrying about what happens in the meantime, unless we're going to buy, you know? And look, I totally understand these prices can be scary because it's going down and you want things to go up, especially if we've waited a year or 2 years. I get that. But this isn't the time, this launch. If you look at every launch of a blockchain, like I said at the beginning, every launch of a blockchain always has done something similar, up and down. And then we stabilize and we will slowly launch up again. But it takes time for this ecosystem. It takes time. The PulseX debacle is concerning because if you miss providing fees to liquidity providers, I'm curious what else was overlooked. And I see your concern, but I'll also say that one area of code that was not necessarily addressed does not mean there was a ton of others. It also doesn't mean there's not a ton of others. And I get why you're saying this, but this was it wasn't harmless because some people just didn't get their fees, so they didn't get the farms. So that sucks. And I'm not going to downplay that. Like if you weren't in the farms and you're liquidity providing, you didn't get fees. I mean, like that's annoying. Of course it is. Like that's a turnoff, right? So I hear that, but I think it's premature to jump and say one thing's wrong, therefore there are others also wrong. Wait and see, and maybe act accordingly. Maybe, just act accordingly to what you think is going to happen in the future. But everyone's got to make their own decisions. Okay, let's see here. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so what else did I have to talk to you guys about today? We've talked about the farms. We've talked about Pulse. Let's go look at some charts here. Let's go look at some charts. I am human. Also, guys, so I'll pause here to say one quick thing. So I've actually decided to create, if you're interested, because I do have my coaching calls, my one-on-one stuff, but I've also decided on Tuesdays and Thursdays at, I think it's 5 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing group calls, which are massively discounted. And it's not like, they're not like alpha calls. It's like, what I want these to be is I want these to be like a customer service kind of thing where you come, you ask questions, we problem solve, we figure out what's going on. You can ask questions about the ecosystem, like how things work, mechanics, all that stuff. And I'm going to be having 2 of those per week. Go to there's a link in the description, I believe, if you want to sign up for that. It's way cheaper than I think it's 80% off what my hourly rate is. So if you're interested in something like that, there's only 12 spots available per session, but there's going to be 2 per week indefinitely. So if that appeals to you, you want to share the group and share time with others for an hour and a half, actually, which is solid. Go check that out. Okay. Anyways, though, I don't want to just sit here and chill. Let's go actually look at all this stuff. So PulseX, how's PulseX doing? So we're kind of sitting here in this region where we have a lot of action in the past. And if we minimize that, RSI is getting real low. Doesn't mean we can't go lower, but this is looking like a spot where we could form some support here. And this could be an area where we start to reaccumulate and maybe crab sideways, go up, down, and form an area where we can then start to move up a little bit from it. Now, anything can happen. And I'm not trying to tell you that price is about to launch upwards, but this looks like it could be an opportunity where things could stabilize maybe over the coming week or two. So that's really interesting to see. Let's go check on what's going on with PulseChain or Pulse. Same thing. A little bit below where I would have expected. I mean, who knows? Yeah, let's see here. So this is the area that I would have expected us to kind of chill. We've dropped below that, which is totally fine. What's our percentage drop here? Let's see. So we've got a 61% drop. I mean, in terms of like what other blockchains have done, that's not that bad at all. It's not terrible. Yeah, exactly. Faucet didn't deplete immediately. Lasted a few days, enough to help a bunch. Hey, it's free, man. I appreciate the gift. Nobody needed to do that. Nobody needed to do that. Okay. That was the community stepping up and providing the ability for others to actually participate here. Let's see. Mark says, my guess is that many who are complaining never own Pulse and are just trolls. Let's face it. Who would be so naive to invest money not having understood how this plays out? Yeah. it's just like let things just just give things time. Give things time. And guys, don't attack anyone in the chat. Just like if someone's saying something you don't agree with, you don't have to engage with them. It's okay. Um everyone's got their opinions and everyone's entitled to their opinions. So just leave them. I don't want anyone getting attacked in the chat here. Absolutely. PLS dropped by 61% could mean we could go another 20 to 30% max pain before we really stabilize. We absolutely could go lower. I am totally saying that this looks like an area, at least for PulseX that we were seeing. Like, well, I don't know. If we go 20, 30%, that's more than the price chart. Like, I mean, I could see us getting back to maybe SAC prices. We're kind of close. And look, anything can happen. I don't know, man. Like when it comes to these prices, like you get a couple guys that dump and boom, we go way lower, right? So I don't know. I don't know anyone that does know. I'm just saying it looks like, at least for PulseX, because this is an area I would have expected us to kind of consolidate, but here we are. We're a little below that. So maybe this is the area we start to consolidate in as well, or maybe we just start to plummet again. I loved the dip. You know what? I did too, and still do. I'm loving it. I mean, I have a target. If we go to a certain target, I think, where is it? Let's go. I've told myself I'm not buying any more unless we hit 4 zeros and a 3 something. Because that is, and that's not like, it's just because I've bought a bunch of times already. To me, that's 75% off. That's pretty good. Low 3s is, for me, something I'm going to do. I'm not telling you that's the best decision. We never might get that. We might go lower than that. Don't listen to me. Just telling you because I want you to know that that's how I'm looking at it. And I'm viewing this opportunity as a buying opportunity. Okay. That's it. That's all. Let's see here. We need the PLS whales that got in between 4 zeros and a 4 and 4 zeros and a 6 range to be strong, but who knows? We'll see, man. We'll see. We've already got one that's been dumping. Who knows if that's whale games or if that's actually they're out. We'll see. Drop another 105%. Okay, let's see how that would go. Okay, if we're going to play devil's advocate here. We're going to say we're going to 105% lower. That goes to, dude, you're saying we go to 0. Not sure I can get behind that one, man. Not sure I can get behind that one. My man, don't look at prices, look at mechanics. Crypto Kool-Aid. What's up, bro? Good to see you again. Good to see your name in chat. It's been a minute, man. We haven't chatted at all in a while. This. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. You know, like I said, I'm the worst. When it comes to text, I'm the worst at differentiating jokes sometimes. So you're going to have to clarify for me every once in a while, guys. So trolling the trolls graphics. Yeah. Appreciate you, Paul. That was good. I'll get to your question in a second there, Jas. But this is actually something I haven't even actually had the time to look into. I've been seeing it poking around, talking about the China, Hong Kong is opening up to legally be able to purchase crypto again. But I got nothing to report there at the moment because I haven't actually looked it up to do my own research on that and have anything to report to you guys. So nothing yet. Nothing yet. Let's see here. Oh, so LP versus farms. What's more profitable? Well, they are the same thing, but LP is layer 1. And in order to farm, you need LP. You have to provide an LP position and then you can farm. So if you're farming, you're more profitable. You're always more profitable. Game of Life. I do remember your name from way back. I do. I'm trying to remember. Man, it's been so long. So many people that have met in these chats. Okay. I'm going to stop the sharing for a second here, and we're just going to open up some comments. Let's see. I got you, Crypto Kool-Aid. I got you, bro. Starting to feel like we're buying Hex in January 2020 vibes. Ooh. That gets me excited. That gets me really excited. What's the price need to be for 1000X? Probably now from the bottom. Probably from the absolute bottom. PulseX? Well, PulseX's bottom is like five zeros and an 8, which is crazy. So 1000X would be 8/10 of a penny. Just shy of a penny. What up, Abbott? How you doing, bro? Let's see. Yeah, peace and patience is equal to prosperity. Look, I know, this is the thing that confuses me. Like, I've been in crypto for only 2 years. Okay? Like, 2021. So just over 2 years now. I started this channel about a year ago, or over a year ago now, and that's it. I am relatively new. Well, I am relatively new to crypto. I'm still learning so much. But the one thing that it shocks me is just how many people make moves. So, okay, look, I'm culprit. I've made some moves that are like sudden and like just reactionary for sure. But right now, it kind of is interesting just to see, because I'm seeing this whole thing as a buying opportunity beyond belief, and I'm seeing this whole last week and in the future week and a half that we're going to get as a possible insane opportunity that we'll never see again. And it doesn't scare me. In fact, it makes me wish I had more money, And so I'm confused why what I'm seeing that others aren't, or what others are seeing that I'm not seeing, and that a lot of us aren't seeing. So I don't know. And I'm not saying my opinion's right. I'm just curious where the difference is on us. Yeah, those were the days. Been sending people to your channel who also invested. You're good at explaining and showing advanced stuff for newcomers. Kudos to you for your hard-earned work, buddy. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for sending everyone here, and thanks for sticking around for so long. I appreciate you, man. Trader JX, I'm not trolling. I'm just disappointed. Haven't sold a penny of my PLS. I hear you. I hear you, man. It's hard. I think it's easier to be disappointed right now than to not be. I see that. But just wait. We're in the beginning stages, okay? We can't judge our baby at its ability to walk before it's learned to walk. We have to let it learn to walk first and then judge if it's good at it or not, and how it's doing. If it's not figuring out how to walk, then maybe it's not working so well. But if it hasn't even gotten there yet, it can't even walk yet. Why are we judging it based on its ability to walk? Right? Just give it time. Look, guys, price of hex is the value. So Crypto Kool-Aid here. Thanks for this comment, brother. Look, guys, price of hex is value needed to get on the T-share choo-choo train. The price is your train ticket. Look at what you get for a T-share. Hedron, Icosa, Texan PLSD, Communist, and more. There's so much that you get from participating in the T-share staking system using your hex that's not even funny. And PulseChain was built for hex. I bought BTC to use on Silk Road. I was mining ETH, BTC, and Dash in 2016, 2018. Bought with crypto. I traded crypto. Never have any of them yielded a better result than just holding the coins was. There you go. Oh my God. I hear you though. Thanks for saying that. The people, I don't know about you guys, but the people that I've heard of that have made the most money in crypto were not traders. They were people that held. They were people that bought continuously, or specifically time buys that were ultra precise, and then they held and they waited. And sometimes it was 2 cycles, So patience, man. Patience, is my opinion, is the name of the game, and not counting your chickens before they hatch. Not not trying to judge your baby on its ability to walk before it knows how to walk. Yes. Crypto buy sells like juggling. Start with one ball, then two and three, and so forth. Never invest 100% one go. Make it flow, buy low. Exactly. Like, imagine if you saw this dip here and you went all in and you had nothing left to buy here, all the way down here, or all the way down here, right? Be kicking yourself, right? That's why I've been saying on the channel, and I've been doing the same thing. Buy, 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 buy. Just keep buying over a period and let that, especially right now, like, these are opportunities we may never see again. And it might keep going down, but at some point it will stop. And you don't want to be caught on the wrong side of that. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna give some admins, some wrenches to some people in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. If there's scams, then give me 1 second here. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna give people some wrenches here. Give me 1 second. Abit, you get a wrench. Oh, wait, hold on. Add this mod. Standard. Okay, give me a couple seconds, guys. I'm gonna make some people's mods. I know you didn't ask for it, but it's happening. Anyone that I've seen in here. Oh, sorry, guys. I can't believe there's so many people in here that I haven't given mod access to. Let's give you a mod. Cool, cool, cool. All right, I'm gonna leave that there for now. And let's go back. Yeah, guys, if you could, be great. Like the video, please. Go smash the subscribe button. Drop a comment. Once the stream's over. And you know what, guys? Let's talk about, because I haven't been vocal, and I'm going to tread very, very carefully here about this whole hex situation. Okay. And I didn't really want to make an opinion on this, but I do feel like it's important that you guys understand where I sit with this. Okay. And I've talked about it here and there. You know, I was in a chat. I was in the Fuber Finance and Tangent chat earlier today, but it's really interesting to hear all the sides of the equation when it comes to hex and pHex, because, you know, there are, like, the argument for right now onboarding only into pHex, right? I can understand that. There's a lot that goes into that. Like, a focused narrative focuses economic energy and allows for the price to go up, more so on one. But the problem I see with something like that, and one of the arguments too I've heard, is the exit liquidity. And if you are going to eHex, you are basically exit liquidity for OGs. But your exit liquidity, whether you go on either chain, if you're looking on that front. So I'm not really sure I agree with it. That one's a weird one for me. And I understand, you know, the fees are way cheaper on PulseChain. So right now, like, if you're a smaller player and you, like, if even relatively, you know, it does make, there's a lot of reasons why PulseChain Hex makes sense. You know, there's a ton of reasons, you know, but Hex is still Hex. The way it operates, the code functions the same. The fees, the payouts, the share rate, the whole 9 yards on that front are going to act different. And maybe, and probably, both hexes will have a different price point, you know, and maybe they'll fluctuate high and low, like they'll come close to parity, or maybe they'll be at like 3 or 4 to 1, or maybe eHex will even flip pHex at some point, but who knows? The problem I have with this whole debate is that we're trying to put definitive frameworks on things, and we're trying to say that one will always be better than the other based on only what we have now, what we know now, right? We're trying to put future definitions on what things will look like when we have no way of knowing what will happen. We don't. And so it's really tough to, I don't have a side. I have, the way I look at this personally is whatever makes the most sense right now. And things change in the future. Things might change. Things might not change in the future. It might always seem better in terms of fees for smaller players to get involved with on the PulseChain hex. But maybe at some point things change. Okay. And my whole take is I believe that going where there is the highest potential ROI is the way to go. And for anyone saying that if you're not supporting pHex, you're not supporting the PulseChain community, PulseChain was built for Hex. Hex is the original asset. Like, Hex is still Richard Hart's baby. And maybe the other one everyone wants to go to, and maybe there's reasons everyone wants to go to it, but that's still Richard Hart's thing. And that's still supporting the original token that got us all here. So yes, I support, of course, PulseChain and Hex on PulseChain, but I don't see a world where it makes sense to paint yourself into a corner and never look for opportunities everywhere else because it's not on PulseChain, because it's not paying the validators on PulseChain, because it's not enriching everybody else. Do you, like, for that argument, because that was one I saw earlier too. It's like, if you're saying, because this argument did come up, where if you are you shouldn't be enriching ETH validators, enrich the Pulse validators, right? It supports the PulseChain ecosystem. It supports our people, right? Well, it's like, do you go and do you look at every single label and see where everything's from? And do you only ever support the things that you love everywhere else? Or is this just something else that fits your narrative for this particular situation? Because I'm not that person. I'm not the person that, like, I try, like, I'm big on non-GMO stuff. I'm big on all organic as much as I can. I don't do it all the time, but I think it's kind of weird to pick one scenario where it fits, where you want to know where your money's going and you want to support people, but not everywhere else. And I don't know if everyone has the same argument or the same reasons for doing that, but to me, that doesn't really make sense. I'm supporting Hex, and Ethereum validators are like, yes, I'm not enriching me personally. My gas fees that I'm going to pay on Ethereum are not enriching Ethereum cumulatively as an entire network. Sure, people enrich validators if there are high rewards, right? And we're paying high gas fees, but that won't always, well, but I'm focused on me. Okay. And I'm focused on the people that I speak to. And yes, we are giving money to validators, but if you could make a drastically higher ROI at one point in time, why wouldn't you? Just because it says a name on it. You know, if it's undermining the principle, like, I'll never invest in anything to do with a CBDC. Anything that goes that direction, I'll never put my money into, right? That's against my personal values. But a validator is a validator to me. And yes, it supports the PulseChain ecosystem if we're on PulseChain, but like, profit's profit. Okay. When it comes down to it, aside from the deep undermining of my values, which goes nowhere near, that's my stance. Okay. And sure, there's a whole bunch of arguments you could bring up, and I'm just not looking to go there. Okay. Kool-Aid, if you want to come on, I'd love to have you on. Send me I'll DM you on Twitter right now. Okay, give me 1 second, my bro. Give me 1 second. Oh. Okay. Send you the link. Pop in whenever. Okay. So again, right now, there are a lot of reasons why it makes sense to go to PulseChain Hex, but in the future, it might not. And especially if horizontal scaling happens, where PulseChain actually does offload a large amount of the network usage and fees are equal because PulseChain did 1,000x or 10,000x, and now the fees are just as high as Ethereum. it's this, we're basically back to square one at that point. If fees on both chains, let's say like 5 years from now, okay, and this is not a now problem, we're just talking about in the future, and I'm just trying to say this because it's like I don't want to close off anything in the future. Right now makes sense, but when in the future might it make sense, or might not make sense? It might make sense to go the other way, right? If fees are the same and PLS just did like a crazy run and eHex is down here, well, I mean, way more T shares for that price. Way more T shares. And ETH fees are killing the ETH side, 100%. It's not fun on Ethereum right now. And I'm not suggesting anyone right now go and buy eHex. I'm saying just keep an open mind for the future, right? I think pHex is a better buy at this point in time for some reasons, right? But not everyone's reasons are like, there are so many, like, here's the thing, guys, there's so much to think about here. Even me saying I think pHex is a better buy right now, it's not even 100% accurate. Okay. That's my own subjective opinion. And I can't be bang on. There's a bunch of reasons I see which makes sense to get in on the PulseChain side. And there are even reasons that it makes sense to get in on the Ethereum side. Okay. And that's it. That's all. All right. I hear you, bro. I hear you. Give me one sec, guys. Hexkin says, I like that name, Hexkin. Rich RH has always been there for us to enjoy, just enjoy the journey. And it's going to be a crazy journey. Look up for BlackRock and their share buying into crypto. If you know, you know. They're coming, man. They're coming. They're already here. They're just not quite where we are yet. And that might be sooner than later. We'll see. It can be very interesting to watch this all play out over the next coming couple years. Let's see here. Once single-sided staking comes with PulseX, PLSX will get scooped up like crazy. Power City will promote PLSX growth too. That's another thing, guys. Like, look, this whole ecosystem right now, all these prices. Let's go back over to the charts. All of these prices right now, PulseX, Pulse, all of these price charts at the moment. It's not the easiest to get Pulse at the moment. It's not the easiest to navigate onto PulseChain at the moment. It's not that easy. It is easy, but if you're a complete newbie and you have no idea what you're doing, I can understand it's confusing. It's not that hard to learn if you want to put in the work, but you haven't put in the work, it is what it is, right? So you have to remember, though, there is little going on PulseChain other than the PulseX exchange and maybe a few protocols that are active. We haven't seen the influx of these projects and products on PulseChain yet. This ecosystem is so in its infancy still. We are going to see Power City. We're going to see liquid loans. We're going to see all of these projects that are going to come make this ecosystem thrive and give so many opportunities. And we haven't even seen that yet. We haven't even seen the PulseX single-sided staking pools. And check this out. Okay, so yeah, we're down here right now, right? Note right here. We are right here. We're like 60-something% down. We're 64% down, probably a little bit more. Let's go look at incentive token. Let's go to price and pulse. Look at I'm going to circle this right now. I want you guys to focus on this right here. You see this bottom right here? These candles started when the incentive token farming opened, and there was a reason you needed incentive. There's now a reason for it. And then look at this. 9x. Okay. And what I'm not doing is I'm not saying that means PulseX is going to do the exact same. But what I am saying is if you're reading between the lines and you see that use case for token being launched equals token possibly going up, who knows where we're going to go. But that points to us not being here for very long. We may only get to sacrifice price. Who knows? We may not even rise that much. I don't know. But I think there's the massive case for when all these things, including single-sided staking, comes on, including the rest of the products of the ecosystem, everything changes. Everything changes, guys. Let's keep going here. I see there's lots of comments. Hey, thanks. Appreciate you. Sounds like you do as well. Salute to you, my friend. Salute to you. Hey, I hear you, man. I'm not saying I'm for ETH. I'm not saying I'm for spending gas fees on ETH. I'm just saying that at some future point, if the gas fees of Pulse come up to some near dollar value to what ETH is, well, then that changes the game in terms of how we look at eHex and pHex. Okay. That will change the game, but not saying it's going to happen like that, but I'm saying if it does, right? %. Why wouldn't you support a network that brought business to your DEX? 100%. Philip, front page, welcome. And front page of PulseChain needs to have easy to follow guide for average person to buy and use. I know. I hear you, man. What I'm going to do as soon as everything becomes straightforward, I want to make a full guide, because right now there isn't really easy access for the most part. And it's not necessarily straightforward. There's a bunch of little workarounds, and I'm waiting for that one, the few things to click together, and then I can actually make a easy video. Yeah, exactly. PulseChain's still wearing a diaper, not on solids yet. We are so new. The future looks so bright. My thoughts exactly. Relax and chill. Wait 2 to 4 weeks to see what happens when the single-sided staking on PulseX opens. Exactly, guys. Everyone got to understand that we are seeing a birth of a new bridge born in a bear market. It's going to start harsh and slow, but if it survives, it's going to be strong, and it's probably going to survive. Probably going to survive. And guess who is now in the building? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man himself, Crypto Kool-Aid. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
Long time no talk, Graphics. How you fucking been, bud?
Man, it's been good. I'm busy. It's like so much going on, but it's been great, man. How about you?
My life is a crazy shit show. They laid off 90% of the game studio, and I work for $1 billion IP 8 days before I moved. So got some lead opportunities at some things that people have heard of and all the rest. But when I apply mechanics, it's because that's what my day job is. Like, I'm a Richard Hart idealist, but I'm a mechanics maximalist. And I use the paraphrasing. The worst thing about making games is gamers. They think that if they buy something for $50, they somehow can go to a Chipotle and berate the chef in the back because they're Gordon Ramsay. Just because you buy something doesn't necessarily you understand how it all works. It's a lot of stuff. And so with the Pulse ecosystem and T-shares on 2 different chains, Axis said it when I was on with him and Wales on the 40th anniversary of Nixon pulling the gold standard. It's like having a T-share on 2 chains is like having 2 suns. But you have to see how everything's working. And so this eHex pHex debate is kind of like arguing PlayStation and Xbox if you're a game developer that builds on both. It's kind of irrelevant. What you have to do is look at the ecosystem and the things that have been inspired, founded, and cultivated through the Richard Hart ideals of teaching yourself how to place limit orders, what binded liquidity is, what putting time of value to money versus time of value to yourself. That's why he wrote How to Change the World in Sci-Vive. The values of just a chain is you're looking literally at the car in front of you instead of reading the exit signs going down traffic. You're looking at the quick thing instead of under the hood. because theoretically bonded liquidity from eHex bridged over to PulseChain or PulseHex bridged over to Ethereum or Link or anything also has binded liquidity of value. So one can't go down. Also, if you look at the other end, without PulseChain launches, would ETH 2.0 have gotten to market as fast as it did? No. So, and I don't even think Richard fixed the S-load function on Pulse, but it's just so cheap we don't have to worry about it now. We fix it later. You can do upgrades. And that's the thing, is that ETH 2.0 and PulseChain running in parallel, because they both are now forked off the same master decision when ETH went to proof of stake. They move in tandem. And so the asset that has yield that moves within the chain in tandem inherently also has value across the board. Yes, there are gas fees on Ethereum, but you know what I did when I just had to unstake and it was $400? I farmed a whole bunch of incentive token, and funny enough, incentive to bridged USDC was 1-to-1, hardly any slippage. So I just took the incentive, moved it over to USDC, bridged it back over, paid for my gas dunsies. Just like you could do with Hedron, just like you could do with compounding Icasa, just like you could have done if you got the airdrop from Texan token when you get that harvested yield. You can take yield on one side and still have a steam engine on the other, because there's no difference between a steam engine and a nuclear reactor. The fuel, or the gas, let's call it, has a different half-life or cost. They work intrinsically the same. Same code, same community, same frequency. And also the people that worry about gas, PulseHex is probably better for you for that exact reason. But people that have G5s and yachts don't care about the cost of gas to fill up their tank. So if rich people...
On that note, though, I got one question, because I have yet to speak to someone on that front. This is on this whole topic, like my I would really love to know every step of the way. Like we say, the whole S-load thing and Richard Hart being able to go in and change the S-load, that was news to me that I wasn't even thinking about, so that's really cool. And hearing that
was correct. I heard it off ball, but I've been busy, but I think that's correct.
Totally. And I hear that. And so like, I want to find out about that too. Like, is that possible? Is that a thing? And I haven't researched that yet. But the second thing, what I was going to say originally was like, okay, who are the people that are actually on yachts and who have whatever, they got wealth and they're coming in? I want to hear from those people specifically, because what I have yet to hear, I hear a lot of us talking about how rich people don't care about gas fees. I want to hear from a rich person. I want to hear from someone who actually is there and is saying what they care about.
Sure. Well, let's take that and let's take it one step further, right?
Perfect.
And let's correlate it to, let's say you have an EVM car that needs to be charged every 300 miles, or you have a giant double-decker Hummer that requires 91% gas. The premium that you're getting, and if it's disposable income to you, yeah, they might care because they're frugal, but they can do it. That's inherently the difference between can and cannot. Like if you have an EVM Tesla and you need to get 400 miles to a charge station and your car can only go 300 miles, that's a cannot situation, or you have to prepare for it. If you have to pay a higher price at the pump based on what state you are, or income tax based on where you live, or whatever you want, that is a choice of availability based on what you are doing. If you're a newbie onboarding, there is no problem with what the PulseChain community is going to do. But will eHex, people are again talking about hexes and spot price. T-shares. Both T-shares at fork were the level of 1. They were identical to each other. And now both of them are going to be diverging based on who stakes and unstakes. The T-share payout will change based on who stakes and unstakes and how all the rest of that works. And the question is, how are you making your money work for you and what vessel that you want? Because the arbitrage opportunity between the bridges and the entire Pulse ecosystem of liquid loans, Power City, Tetra is a god of what it can do. Internet money, all the people that learned the ideals of Richard Hart. Again, Richard Hart idealist, not maximalist. I think it was a little before you got into the community, but Nerd Girl used to talk about, and her thesis in college was tribalism. Tribalism is good because it makes you need to, it takes a village to raise a child. However, maximalism with cotton in your ears does not help, which again, Richard always said, if you want to build something and no one's doing it, build it yourself. And that is the mythos of all of us together. So using the tools that are available is just like saying, I'm not going to only use chopsticks to cut up this steak. It's ludicrous. You need to use the tools available to you for what you want. And a T-share is diverging between each other based on use case value, payout for T-share, gas for T-share, all the rest of that. But it will have intrinsic value because the God whale, the two other Genesis whales, will just keep it for themselves if you want. Yeah, 100%. And again, if you have gas issues and you were early enough listening to all of us for the years that you have 2 different copies, will you earn your yield from compounding your ICASA, compounding your Hedron, doing any other, like binding both forks of Liquidity to remember Liquid Loans is using the layer 1, and then Earn Protocol is using the DEX, but they're both forks of the same system. So you could use Scripts and Tetra to obfuscate arbitrage and do all the rest of that, and then bridge over your profits to unstake. But
there's ways to mitigate it. Exactly.
100%. But again, PulseChain will encourage Ethereum to fix its S load, because if they don't and we do better, then EVM-based models that use that calculation will gravitate towards that chain. But it has nothing to do with the T-share, which is the core component, not spot hex. Liquid hex just gets you on the T-share choo-choo train for as long as you rent out that ticket. 1 year, 10 years, 15 years. Eventually, your time on the train will come to an end, and you need to evaluate, as that happens, what you're going to do with it. But let's just take HSIs now. If you have a 15-year HSI stake and you're worried about gas, you can immediately take it to the ICOSA protocol. And for the most part, ICOSA is about 10x more spot hex price. So you could immediately push that back into the system and then get your ICOSA. And here's the delicious mechanics of it. That HSI that goes to auction in 90 days has time served. It has nothing to do with the 5555 at the end of the day. How many times does that get recycled? That'd be like, oh, geez, this HSI is 6 years in. I only need to wait 6 years for the yield and holding a 15-year stake. Delicious. Those are mechanics, not looking at a ticker symbol. And that's what a lot of people are not doing. And I realize you're frustrated, but ideally at the end of the day, we all know that traders going to trade. We all know that people are going to dump. People are going to manipulate systems. I mean, at least it's not Justin Sung manipulating his own chain. We've seen worse in this entire time of everything that happens, and including CZ spinning up TVL of $500 million, but only $5 of liquidity. We already see people manipulating things currently that already have an insane foothold. The difference about hexicans, pulsicans, icosians, and all of us that are here that are Richard Hart idealists, we're educated enough that we all build each other up together. So that is a core component on absolutely everything that we need to consider, instead of, is one thing going to die instead of another? That's such reading the cover and not the book.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is the problem I have, honestly, with this whole thing, is like when anyone is so solid on and so just like closed off to the idea of something else being possibly true, it really makes me want to work extra hard to, like, you know, figure out what the opposite side of the equation is, to really see, like, either understand that either they're right, you know, maybe they are onto something, or that, like, they're out to lunch in some sense. Not saying anyone's out to lunch here, but like, I just really, really, really dislike this focused, narrow, controlled, like defined framework for now and the future. Like, now is different than the future. Now is not the future. You cannot correlate the two. They are disconnected forever. Even if now is now and not the last now I just said, all the way into the future, that future is always distant. It's disconnected. Events will always happen in the future that are not happening now, that will change how we look at everything. And that's the problem I have, is like, right now, things look a certain way, right? And it makes sense to act accordingly based on what parameters you have on your investment thesis, or how you want to invest in the time that you want to hold those investments for. However, if you don't have the same parameters for investments or for putting your money into Hex, that changes things. That changes the framework you're going to use and what you're going to be willing to see as opportunity. And like you said, the T-share is the T-share. You know, if you are not looking at Hex through the lens of, I want the cheapest possible experience, and the cheapest possible, the easiest, most streamlined experience for fees. Like, you all of a sudden you get the idea that, okay, if people are going to migrate over, I might get a way higher payout. And if prices are cheaper, I might get way more T shares for my $100,000 buy. And I might get way more hex per day for that same rate, or for that same amount of hex that I bought. And you know what? If I do believe that horizontal scaling is going to be achieved at some point, then maybe the fees come up high enough where hex, even if it did go way down in ratio, comes back up. And at that point, man, you're winning, and all these are real possibilities. And I really dislike when we get locked into these binds, which don't make any sense to me.
Well, they're looking again at just spot. Again, if people are gonna understand that there's arbitrage opportunity with bridge assets, 2 T shares arbitraging against each other is probably the most insane idea that you can digest, especially since you can't buy a T share, you rent it. You can buy a token, but you do not buy a T share. You rent it for what you decided at the beginning, and that doesn't scale. And again, looking at what you have up with Alex, who's one of the more brilliant people in this ecosystem that understood how to take a T share and bind mechanics or scripting on top of it. The T share is the GOAT. It is the inspiration. It is the utility. It is the black hole and the sun at the same time. You can utilize that for whatever you want to earn yield or understand that value will eventually go up, because T share cannot go negative. It just goes sideways or up. That's the only thing it can do. And through participation, again, some people that have money only buy caviar and expensive things. Someone that have money maybe are frugal and only buy bare minimum things. Maybe they're minimalist. However, the use case between the 2 identical utilities of both assets isn't arguable. I mean, again, you can't not understand that both T shares are the GOAT. And those, again, on PulseChain, if people are using all the rest of that, they're going to understand what pHex and that T share system does. But then, if should they want, they could take some profits to be like, oh, look, the payout per T share in a year in Ethereum is 15 hex per T share. I mean, it was only 1 when I got in, and now it's 6. So the question is how is that going to be done? Maybe Ethereum hex is larger length, 15-year stakes to just use the ICASA protocol, just to when you need to get it out, you don't have to emergency unstake. You put it into the ICASA market system, and you immediately get your ICASA. And then from there, you can sell that ICASA. And because you can sell the ICASA, that works with the spot price of hex, which is why there's that tantrum ratio between the two. So then that hex stake in 90 days now has time served. There's so many ways that you can play it, whereas on Pulse, you have the ability to shorter stakes. And that's great. But in 15 years, Ethereum probably will get their S-load functioning order. Remember, Bitcoin isn't even 15 years old. So if you really think about that, how are you going to future-proof when you had to wire money over to Mt. Gox to get your Bitcoin, but yet now you're thinking about how an EVM is going to upgrade the amount of time a toddler gets to almost graduate high school? That's a ludicrous way to think that you understand the mechanics in the system.
100%, man. Well said. I don't even think I could repeat what you just said back, honestly.
I only saw people like you and Gifford and Max and Sloth and a few others. You summon me, I'll be like, "What you doing, bruh?" Oh, come on, Jack.
No, it's great. It's great. It really is. I think, like, what I heard from most, and I probably missed so much of it too, is just like the T-share. There are ways to work around problems and to problem solve, and if you understand all of the pieces at play. If you understand this ecosystem, and which is why I wrote this book that's sitting over my right shoulder here. Like, I wrote it so that people could go and understand the mechanics, and then they're going to be able to educate themselves on all the options they have in the future for if they make one decision. So they're not just stuck. They have many options. And I think you hit the nail on the head, really, with like the importance of why, if you're going to be in this ecosystem for a long time, you need to understand what you're getting yourself into, how the mechanics work, how they integrate together, how the long-term ramifications are. Like, it's just so important. And it changes so much of, what these decisions imply, when you understand the mechanics completely and their long-term effects and how they'll integrate together.
Correct. Yep, exactly right in the head. And most people only look at the immediate gratification or the immediate knowledge because it was spoon-fed for them. And it's fair because you don't know what you don't know. But thinking about things holistically and how all the things loop together, if you don't understand that intrinsically, you should learn. I think Dave Sellers, look up systemic design. It's so critical because once
you sent me those 2 videos. Those were awesome.
Yeah, but it was so simple. Once you understand fox and hare, it's super simple. If all the foxes eat all the rabbits, it's not just them that can't handle it. It's the amount of time it takes other rabbits to germinate and grow. So literally the foxes are starving themselves. But if the foxes also don't have another predator, they'll grow too big that the rabbits won't get eaten as much to equilibrium them out. It's all a cyclical cycle on how bonded liquidity or utility. It's not just about money. It's about utility on how the seesaw scales. And you can even go back to ancient Egypt. If your heart is light as a feather, then you can go to the higher power. The scales or the seesaws, that is what will mitigate everything. And use case, virality, and Metcalfe's law, bonded to Moore's law, will create that ecosystem. And we're still so young in germination of what interoperability will be. Digital augmented reality, virtual reality, and virtual thumbprints will be how yield and dynamism will do. Nobody goes and uses a rake to shake a money tree. We get paid digitally all the time through direct deposit. If you come in with a whole bunch of cash, they wonder what drug dealer or stripper you are. We can't even go into a bank and withdraw $10,000 without saying it's for a car. Nobody buys a house in cash. We're already past that system. And so as we're moving into this hodgepodge of an advanced digital thumbprint, now with augmented reality or even AI on how that's going to integrate everything into it, we have to look at how to evolve and to be maximalist for no reason. And if you're uneducated, that is not horrible. It just means you haven't talked to the right people yet, right? Maximalism can always be turned into tribalism because you want your tribe to be together. Maximalism tends to also have ignorance attached to it because they don't want to learn and listen, because everyone that is a tribe wants to learn from someone else. You never want to be the stupid person in the room. And ideally, that's what Richard tried to encourage us, to all of us, to build, to grow, to learn, and to create across the board.
100%. I just I keep thinking back to, I just lost my train of thought. Speaking of choo-choo trades, mine has left the building.
It's okay, brother. I've just heard this argument recently, and even from some really good influencers and friends. You're looking at the cart before the horse and the forest before the trees in the wrong dynamism, unfortunately. And there's also nothing wrong with that. People should have opposing opinions so we can come together and break bread and talk about it. It's just I happen to have a particular pedigree on that particular thing. Sorry, I've been looking at what we got here.
No, it's okay. This question for you.
The market from Black. Okay. So that's a dangerous thing. Because even Space Care and Elon himself is talking about the housing market coming down. And we already know that BlackRock and all the people that are associated with Federal Reserve, IRS, and all the rest of that, they already had a problem on their hands, and they've already been usurped, just like the healthcare industry has been usurped. Private education has been usurped. We've already put in that glass ceiling above other people. And after the 2008 housing market crisis, BlackRock scooped up everything. So we are about to have the exact same thing happen that will also cause the same issue. For example, I just left LA because they want to charge me $4,500 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. I can get something in Texas for $2,200 for a bigger apartment, 3-bed, 2-bath. Why am I leaving? Well, I mean, unfortunately, with game dev, you move every 2.5 years. But BlackRock is a parasite because they lobby and have all the ability to have the money and to buy the people that make the laws for the money. And they own the land, which again, and this goes back to my talking about a T-share. You technically don't own a stock. You are renting it theoretically for 100 years. You rent an IP theoretically for 100 years. You're renting a property theoretically for 100 years. There are rules and regs on how even the ecosystem of how they've defined our laws regulate us, whether you know it or not. Now, if BlackRock is going to wait for the next housing market crisis to scoop up more of the land, which is potentially the same thing as more of a T-share, because it's the yield producing bedrock asset that you build everything on top of. So it is a dangerous concern about BlackRock, but we can't change that. And BlackRock, unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, hasn't figured out the value of a T-share or anything like that. They still don't even control advert. Advert and T-shares are two of the most important things to understand, because without Google AdSense, Google makes nothing. Without Lamar billboards, I didn't see what the last one was. You want to pop up that last comment?
It's just thank you for your honesty, Kool-Aid.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have my glasses on. And
that's all good. That's all good.
But but you have to think about those correlations on what those institutions, or let's call them liquidity pools, have to do. What happens when Michael Saylor has to sell Bitcoin at a loss to pay for the debt that he owes? What happens when Grayscale, due to the SEC regulations and nonsense they're doing, has to remove financial institutions that could prop up America to make where BRICS nations don't take control of everything, and then Coinbase or all the other fiat on-ramps and off-ramps leaves? How long till you become a hermit nation yourself? These problems will be either our generation or our under generation's problems that they have to handle. There wasn't that much of a time that that the British pound was the national reserve currency for the damn world, like the East India Company. It wasn't that long ago. You could count your generations of grandfathers up to be like, yeah, the pound was the one where we invaded other countries and usurped them, and now they are part of all hail the queen. Things have changed. And if you don't understand that understanding and dividing technology makes you a fax machine maximalist forever. You are never going to get anywhere if you're still, yes, you're better than a carrier pigeon maximalist, but you don't have high-speed fiber optic internet. So BlackRock and all the rest of them, they represent the old analog stuff, but they have enough liquidity in their pools that they can buy all the rest of us out. If you take the knowledge and set yourself up now, it's just like putting a flag in the ground before the gold rush. You don't even have to dig for the gold. You just own where the mine is. It's very important to understand.
Damn. Yeah. Well said. Well said. And I know like bits and pieces. I know like the premise of BlackRock, and they're a little bit about their history and whatnot. But like their operations now, I've been kind of just so focused on this ecosystem. It's nice to hear what you have to say. And kind of
I think they own 70. I think they own like 60 or 70% of all the American housing market.
Wouldn't shock me. It's like what, $18 trillion in assets, or 17 trillion dollars in assets right now.
Yep. And that's just on the housing. Think about what companies that they're on the shareholder board for, or how many procedural stocks that they own, or it's like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett owns a lot of things, so that way he can move a lot of things. Same thing that Space Karen Elon did with taking his Tesla stock to go fuck with Twitter. There's a lot of things that people with weight have that they do. Now, we, as people who understand how bonded liquidity, how immutable yield, and how an ecosystem that were the scrappy underdogs, now are creating, building, and don't need anything from anyone. In fact, we don't even get paid to do this shit. If my friend summons me like you, I come on. Otherwise, I watch people. You know what I mean? I text them in the background like I like to be. However, none of us need to be here. We're here because we want to.
Exactly. At the end of the day, that's 100% it. I wouldn't be streaming if I didn't want to. You wouldn't be here if you didn't want to. None of us would be here participating in this ecosystem. This ecosystem wouldn't be what it is if we didn't all want to be here. So correct. That's 100% it. And I'm just looking also at the time. I do think I've got to get off stream here. I got some stuff.
Oh, no, 100%. I've actually got stuff I got to do because I'm in the process of relocating. I've got other side hustles I got to do. But I was walking home and I was listening to you. And I've heard this eHex debate that I hope that people listening understood the differences on. People are looking at a cover of a book, not even reading the preface in the beginning nor the ending. They're just fighting over nothing burgers. Like this whole PulseChain thing, it literally was a nothing burger. And at the end of the day, we do day one patches in video games. Nothing was corrupt. There was no exploit. It's just yield wasn't being distributed evenly. Hell, Alex had the same problem when he was doing a rounding error for the ICOSA staking for the 20% bonus. And he had that because he was trying to future-proof whales manipulating the market. And he was going so far further that it was just a whoopsie on one side on the other end. It was nothing exploit. It was no bug. It's just trying to think on how all these spokes and wheels fit together. And it's a lot of moving parts. And so for people to freak out about that, it's just putting into the same silly commentary on why people who are rate things from the peanut gallery are someone that could never create. Creators always understand where a whoopsie happens and how do we build and augment around that. So PulseX and Pulse can be upgraded. They move on parallel rails to Ethereum because they're both forks now on the same trajectory. So as this code gets implemented, you just remove your LP, put your LP back in, and restart your farm, and you're good to go. There is no problem here. It's just people like, oh my God, there was a problem. They're like, did you never stub your toe in your life? And now you shouldn't walk forever? Like, I don't understand why you're couch keyboard refereeing here. It's okay. For 3 weeks, yield wasn't appropriated exactly correctly, but the buy and burn was great. We see that function or that feature or that mechanic doing fantastic. And the yield you were getting off incentive for PulseX to incentive or Pulse to PulseX or was fantastic. In fact, it paid my gas fees on Ethereum. But now we see this working. There's just a little tweak in the knob. That's why in audio engineering, they say turn it to the 11 because that's where it clips. And so we're turning it to the 11. Now we're massaging it back down. And I think people just need to chill out, honey bunny, from Pulp Fiction. It's going to be okay. We're all going to be bad motherfuckers, and it's fine. So at the end of the day, just chill, honey bunny. But yeah, I just want to pop on real quick because I heard you. I didn't talk to you in a hot minute. And shoot me a call anytime, man. And let's get together and catch up.
Let's catch up soon, man. And thanks again for coming on. It was dope that you reached out like that. I'm always happy to have you on. So I hope you're doing well in between the moves. Hope you get to the new space and enjoy every bit of it. And thank you guys all for coming and watching this and being, it was like 250 you guys that were here at one point. It's great. Guys, make sure go follow Crypto Kool-Aid on Twitter.
No one needs to follow me. No one needs to follow me.
Okay. Don't follow Crypto Kool-Aid. Go unfollow him if you're following him. Get out of his. Do not listen to this man.
Do not like, subscribe, follow, make Brandon Rags for Riches president. Go send that man a fruit basket because tiny gingers need to stand on a box so that way they can see stuff. But no, it's friends. And so like if you ever need me, you call me. If you follow me, awesome. But I just want my message to get out. But I'm just here for the family at the end of the day. But yeah, anything for you, good graphics, you need me, I'll always be there.
Right back at you, brother. Appreciate that, man. And so guys, I'm going to conclude with that. One more time, I want to let everyone know here. So like what I've been doing, as lots of you guys know, I have my one-on-one coaching, but it's got an hourly rate. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to make it so that way there's a way that a bunch of people I can talk to at the same time. So I'm going to have 1.5 hour sessions every Tuesday and Thursday where I can get up to 12 people in. It's massively discounted. It's like 80% off my hourly rate. It's super cheap in comparison. And it's like customer service for PulseChain. So if you've got problems you're going through, if you've got things you want to figure out, mechanics you want to talk about within the ecosystem, that's the place for this. It's not alpha. It's not talking about the best strategies. It's literally just how do these things work? How does all this go? And I can help you with that. So if you want to do that, go to the link in the description. Also, there's one-on-one calls if you want that, guys. But other than that, go get my book on Amazon. It's free on Kindle, paperback and hard copy, or it's free on cryptographics.com. And make sure you're subscribed for more content, guys. So thank you for being here. Again, Kool-Aid, my brother. Thank you, guys. Thank you for stepping in and joining me for this. We'll see you guys in the next stream.